Sometimes he's as light as air and floats on a breeze, but most of the time he's stretched to his limit as
outreach session. That unfortunately, we cannot meet you in person, but we're doing the next best thing with the Zoom on there. And I want to thank each and everybody for taking the time, participating in this. And this is very important. We're looking not at a final budget, but a preliminary budget. And staff and council is looking for the feedback, and we will alter the budget based on what everybody says. And all your comments, even though we may not talk about them tonight, they are recorded and we are given that information as a council and staff. So your feedback tonight is extremely important to us. And as we're looking at this budget, this is just a game-changing budget for it. Number one, we're spending $420 million in capital improvement. What's capital improvements? It's infrastructure. Biggest item, of course, is streets. Almost $140 million in streets, not including all the pipes and things that go underground. This is just for the paving. And two, we're spending other things besides the hard infrastructure like streets and utilities. We're spending it on our public safety on there, a new police academy, a new fire station, badly needed fire station. And then something that's very important to all of council is the people infrastructure. $40 million for making our community a better community through substantial improvements in our parks. And then the last part, as we go through the details of this budget, is our human capital. Each department is going to be going through there, and you'll be seeing this on the video, how we're adding to our staff. For our city to serve you citizens like it should, we need more people across the departments with it. There's a new culture, thanks to City Manager Zanoni here, service. And for service, you have to have people. We're investing in our hard infrastructure. We're investing in our quality of life infrastructure, and we're investing in our human capital. That's what this budget is all about. And I'd like to turn it over right now to our city manager, Peter Zanoni, 2.5 years on this. This is his third budget. And Peter is the one that brought these outreach programs to this city to allow everybody to participate in it. Thank you for that. And I want to, one last thing is thank staff. We have about 20 members of staff. This is our 4th out of 5 meetings. They're spending their evenings on there. And then a special thanks that we've got Councilman's Mike Pusley behind me, Roland Barrera is on there. Mayor Paulette Guajardo is watching remotely with it. Do we have anybody else on, Peter?
We do. We have them. You said the mayor?
Yes, the mayor.
And I believe that's it. I checked the list. Sometimes there are a few others, but it looks like who's in the room here, and then the mayor is in participating from her office downstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, so good turnout from the council.
Well, thank you, Peter.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Councilman. We're glad to be in City Council District 4 this evening. And this will be, as the councilman said, our 4th of 5. And while these events are citywide, our focus tonight is City Council District 4. And so we look for some engaging topics and conversation. We know City Council District 4 encompasses a lot of great geography in our city, the island, Flower Bluff, and even some of Ocean Drive. So Councilman Smith has an eclectic and a real nice part of our city. So we're thankful for the other council members joining us as well. And as I mentioned, the mayor, Paulette Guajardo, is joining us from her office downstairs in City Hall. So, and Councilman, you probably mentioned the reason we're doing them virtually again.
Yes.
Yeah, so today, as an example, we had one of our highest case counts since earlier this year. So over 550 new COVID cases with 3 additional deaths today reported. So we hope you understand, as a community, we would have loved to do these in person. In fact, we were looking forward to it just a few weeks ago. But with the spike in COVID cases due to that Delta variant, we thought it'd be safer for the community as well as staff to do these virtually. We get real good participation doing them virtually. We've had over 200 people our first meeting, and it's probably been pretty consistent all the way through this 4th meeting. So as the councilman said, we do have department heads on with us. They're listening now. And then during your portion of the event or the work session where we'll hear from you, they'll help answer questions. So persons like our police chief, our fire chief, our public works director, our water, wastewater, utilities director, they're on our WebEx with us, and hopefully you'll get a chance to meet them this evening. And so as Councilman Smith said, the purpose for tonight is to really hear from you, the community, and specifically City Council District 4 representatives, but really anybody across the community. We have a proposed budget that the council has been working over and working through. We've had 2 work sessions with the council in addition to these community forums. And those work sessions typically have been on Thursday for three and a half hours or so. And so in fact, we're gonna finish up one tomorrow on Tuesday, and then we'll have another one Thursday. So the council is getting better information from the staff on the budget. You can see the budget document here in front of Councilman Smith. There's a lot of material, right? Yeah.
530 pages.
Right, it's a lot of material. We want to make sure that the council has all the detail, because ultimately, while it was my job to propose a budget, ultimately one of the biggest responsibility of the city council is to adopt a budget annually. And so they're getting good information to be able to make that decision on September 7th. So just as a reminder, the fiscal year begins October 1. We're not on a calendar year. We run our business on a fiscal year. So October 1 to September 30th. It's a 12-month period. And that's what this budget is for. So what we're going to do at this point is show you a video that this was done in-house with our team inside the city. We appreciate the work they did. It's a real nice video. It's about 8 minutes. It'll highlight the changes that are in the budget that improve our quality of life and public safety and our roads and our parks. And then after that, our Director of Communications, Deanna McQueen, will help to facilitate your questions and comments for the rest of the evening. So we should have about 45 minutes or so after the video to hear from you, the community. And without any more ado, we're going to turn it over to the video, and then we'll be back to help facilitate your conversations with us. So again, thank you for being here, and enjoy this video.
The City of Corpus Christi has put together a record-setting proposed budget. City Manager Peter Zanoni delivered the fiscal year 2022 City of Corpus Christi proposed budget to City Council on July 27, 2021. The proposed budget for the city continues to address the Mayor and City Council priorities identified by the community. For the 3rd year in a row, we are increasing investment in critical infrastructure and quality of life assets, including streets, public safety, parks, neighborhoods, and our utilities, water, wastewater, stormwater, and gas. The $1.2 billion budget represents $258.3 million in the general fund, $238.3 million in the enterprise funds, $133.1 million in the special revenue funds, $118.2 million in the debt funds, and $420.1 million in the capital budget. The fiscal year 2022 proposed general fund budget is $298.4 million, including transfers, which is up from last year at $265.4 million. With police and fire accounting for 48.5% of the general fund budget, solid waste is $30.7 million, street transfer and lighting is $31.7 million, parks $20.2 million, and other departments like neighborhood services, library, and health total $57.8 million. Here are highlights of the proposed 2022 budget. Street maintenance and reconstruction will be top priority going into 2022. More than $121 million has been budgeted for street maintenance and reconstruction, with $43 million going to street maintenance, $60 million to arterials and collectors, and $18 million to residential streets. $2 million for an in-house street rehabilitation paving crew composed of 12 positions and new equipment, $750,000 for Safe Route to School program to rehabilitate citywide sidewalk infrastructure near education centers, and $880,000 for Vision Zero enhancements and internally illuminated LED street name signs. The police budget proposals include funding for 10 new police officers, 5 more than planned. This increases the plan by adding 5 additional police officers for a total of 30 instead of 25 officers over 5 years. Funds an upgrade to public safety computer-aided dispatch and record management system, includes a crime scene mapping drone package and funding for construction of a new police academy complex at the Del Mar South campus. The fire department's proposed budget includes funding for 8 new firefighter positions to create an additional medic unit at Station 17 on Yorktown, the purchase of an additional medic unit, potable water tanker truck, and hazmat material response unit, and the funding for construction of a replacement of Fire Station Number 3 located on Morgan Avenue. Parks and Recreation budget proposals include $2.9 million budgeted for numerous one-time capital improvements at 10 area parks, $100,000 for the design of a monument highlighting the 5 branches of the military at Sherrill Park, funding for an additional 230 shade trees throughout city parks, and funding for the addition of 8 swim instructors to expand the summer swim instruction program. The Marina's proposed budget includes $560,000 for a marina breakwater assessment, funding for the reconstruction of People's Boardwalk, funding for dredging as part of the pier replacement program, the replacement and addition of signs throughout the marina, and 2 additional dockhand positions to support the marina 24/7. The fiscal year 2022 proposed budget also includes upgrades to the seawall and Mirador's lighting, seawall event programming, and facility improvements to the Art Center and Art Museum. Neighborhood Services budget proposals include 4 full-time animal kennel techs and the addition of 2 vehicles, 2 additional live release coordinators, an additional veterinarian position, 5 additional code enforcement officers, additional funding for demolition of properties that have become dangerous from sudden acts such as fire and natural disasters, and funding for fee waivers for non-qualifying infill housing properties. The library's proposed budget includes increased building maintenance at all 6 city libraries and funding for exterior improvements at La Retama Library downtown. The Communication Department budget proposals include upgrading the city's website and payment portal and adding 4 call center representatives for the new 311 call center. The City Auditor's Office budget includes an addition of 1 senior auditor position. Solid Waste proposed budget includes no residential rate increase, the addition of 2 positions for litter crew, the addition of 3 positions and garbage trucks to create 2 new garbage routes and 1 recycling route, and the addition of 4 positions and equipment to create an additional brush and bulky crew. Development Services proposed budget includes the addition of 2 building inspectors, the addition of 3 compliance inspectors for non-scheduled inspections, and the modification of fees that have not been adjusted in over a decade. The Corpus Christi International Airport budget proposals include capital improvements to the terminal building, expansion of the public cell phone parking lot, and the addition of 4 parking operations positions. The Water Department proposes the investment of $112.5 million over the next 3 years to replace and repair water distribution lines, and an investment of $145 million in capital improvements over the next 3 years to rehabilitate and upgrade the Owen Stevens Water Treatment Plant. Wastewater budget proposals include the addition of 8 positions for wastewater treatment plant preventative maintenance activities and capital improvements over the next 3 years to repair, rehabilitate, and upgrade all 6 wastewater treatment plants, totaling $118.1 million. Stormwater budget proposals include creating a new and equitable stormwater fee structure by removing the stormwater fee from the existing water rate and developing a 5-year program to upgrade stormwater infrastructure, increase street sweeping, and improve bay, estuary, creek, and river water quality. The Gas Department proposed budget includes the addition of 7 positions to support the meter replacement program and 8 positions to support the infrastructure replacement program. There are proposed increases to the utility rates in the fiscal year 2022 budget. In wastewater, there is a proposed rate increase of $1.97 a month for an average residential customer with a 5,000-gallon winter quarter average. For water and stormwater, a net zero increase is proposed to the average residential water customer using less than 6,000 gallons. Water will decrease by $6.12, and stormwater will increase by $6.12. A utility assistance program is proposed in the fiscal year 2022 budget. The program will provide rate increase relief for residential customers that use less than 6,000 gallons of water per month for low-income households, seniors 65 years of age and older who are low income, and disabled customers. There is no proposed rate change for gas utilities. The fiscal year 2022 proposed budget is balanced, addresses mayor and city council priorities identified by the community, focuses on basic city functions such as public safety and streets, and is consistent with city council approved financial policies. Now that the proposed budget is presented, what's next? To adopt the fiscal year 2022 budget, a public hearing will be held during the August 31st City Council meeting, followed by the first reading of the ordinance approving the budget. The second and final reading of the ordinance approving the budget will be held during the City Council meeting on September 7th. The City of Corpus Christi budget is the blueprint for the next year of programs and services. If you are interested in more details about the budget, visit www.cctexas.com/budget2022.
He does it every time.
Okay, great. Well, we hope you enjoyed that video. And again, that's done in-house. We want to thank Deanna McQueen and her team who helped put that together with some great footage and some really good highlights of what's in that budget. So since we began the meeting, I did want to recognize that Councilman Ben Molina of City Council District 2 has also joined us. So as we have had in the past, we have great council participation. We know this is a focus on District 4. But we're appreciative of at-large Councilman Mike Pusley being here, Councilman Ben Molina, Councilman Barrera, and also Mayor Wajardo's joining us from her office here at City Hall. And I believe that is everybody. So what we're going to do at this point is turn it over to Deanna McQueen, who's going to be moderating a series of questions now till about 7 o'clock. And people are, just so you know, watching and corresponding with us using Facebook, YouTube. Some are watching this live on our public access channel and calling in questions as well. So we have a real good array of how folks are participating. And Deanna McQueen, who does a great job at this, is now going to take questions and we're going to help answer those questions for her. So Deanna, we'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you so much. And this first question comes from our website, and it's several parts. In the last 20 to 25 years, anyone who pays a city utility bill has been paying stormwater monies as part of their water bill. What has the city done with these millions of dollars collected? Was it used for maintenance and new equipment in the stormwater department, or did it go to the general fund?
Okay, that's a great question. I'm going to begin to answer it, and then we'll have Richard Martinez, our Public Works Director. He's the executive leader that helps to oversee the stormwater program. So the money has gone to a stormwater program. It did not go to the general fund to be used for other services like police or fire. So it went to maintain our stormwater infrastructure. The maintenance includes the cleaning of the system. So there's underground piping that helps to collect that stormwater and get it out of our neighborhoods and discharge it. And so the cleaning, the maintenance to those systems, if there's repair that needs to happen at the inlets or some of the underground piping. I'm not sure if it, and Richard may have this answer, if it funded any new construction. Generally that's done as part of our bond programs. But Richard, why don't you take it from there and help finish the answer to that question?
Thank you, sir. So yes, since 1989, our stormwater has been funded out of the water rates. So water rates are collected from residential and commercial customers. And yes, Peter, you're correct. It did not go into general fund. It went towards the stormwater program. And so the things that you mentioned earlier, maintenance is a big part of that, maintenance and operations. Our MS4 compliance, so our municipal separate stormwater system is what it's called, and we have a compliance permit that we have to abide by. So that funding assists us to do that. We also have 2 flood control pump stations downtown. So that funding helps us maintain those pump stations. Very important, especially this time of year during hurricane season, that those pumps are up and running. And yes, it did assist in capital outlay and equipment purchases. And then also our debt service, where we were able to do some capital projects for stormwater projects only, and then also some street support projects. So anytime street projects are put into play, stormwater has to also come into play to increase or improve our stormwater system, sir. So yes, the answer to that question is yes, it went towards the stormwater program, sir.
All right. This next question also comes from our website. What is the City Council doing to eliminate the problem of littering? What financial resources in the proposed budget has been allocated to reduce this problem and thereby improving the quality and culture of life in Corpus Christi?
Great, thank you. That's a good question. So the council is very engaged in this issue. And we have included numerous things in this budget that would take effect October 1 to address litter and to clean our neighborhoods, clean our commercial corridors. And I'm going to have David Layfelt, our solid waste director, explain a little bit more than what I'm going to explain. So one thing that we're real excited about is for the first time, we're adding a litter collection crew to the city. That crew is going to focus on commercial districts, corridors, some of our neighborhood corridors in the uptown area, downtown area. Their job will be to pick up litter. Unfortunately, it's left there by persons in our community. We do have litter containers and trash cans all along our corridors, but still people throw it on the ground. So the litter crew will pick that up. We also we brought back at Mayor Guajardo's request and Councilman Smith also, the litter critter program, which is a once a month in one of the districts, free service where you can take your household.
Just about anything.
Yeah, what you want to get rid of, you can take it to a dumpster that it's at your level, so you just throw it in. That's a new service that we're bringing back. That's in the budget as well. We're also adding more crews to keep up with demand. We have 4 times a year brush and bulky collection, and that's a real popular program. And so we're adding more crews to make sure we're picking up that material in a timely manner. And then also more crews just for our weekly service, our garbage and recycling service. And I think we're making some improvements at the drop-off center, known as the Elliott transfer station. That's free to any customer in our customer database. And you can go there when it's open to also dispose of trash. So let me introduce you to David Layfelt. He runs that operation. He's a professional in the field his whole career. I think it's focused on it.
Don't forget our education with respect to recycling and all that.
That's right. Yeah, and David will also explain. In fact, tomorrow City Council will get a briefing on how we're going to better educate the community, how we can be better recyclers. Today, we have a pretty high what they call contamination rate, which means we're putting more garbage in the recycling bins than what is allowed. Actually, none's allowed, but there's such a high contamination rate that we as ratepayers, you and I and everybody that's on the program pays $500,000, $500,000 unnecessarily annually because of that contamination, that stuff that we put in the recycling bins that really shouldn't be there. It gets hauled to the processing plant only to have to get hauled to the landfill. And we pay twice, basically, the handling fee. So, David, why don't you summarize or expound upon some of that that I just talked about?
Thank you, Peter. Good afternoon, all. Those are some excellent points that Peter made. The only couple additional points I want to put out is we do have our next litter critter program. It's going to be September 4th at the Tolosa Midway High School. That'll be the next opportunity for the folks in the north part of town to take part in that. We've also added what we call a super bag, which is a 4 foot by 8 foot bag that's 2 feet tall. It can be purchased at the transfer station. It allows customers to put things in it that would normally be picked up curbside by the big and bulky or the brush and bulky system. Things like construction materials, broken tile, broken concrete. It's a good opportunity for people to utilize that. It gives them just another option to haul things to the transfer station. We have streamlined the transfer station operation considerably. We are continuing to try to improve that. We're adding another transfer truck and trailer with an operator to help move the trash out of the transfer station faster. The faster we can move it out, the faster we can get more people in. We've also been working to streamline some of those operations, get some of our household hazardous waste materials collected more frequently, just to give all the customers a little better option, more options to get rid of their trash. Litter is a big issue. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to educate away. Most of the people who throw litter on the ground know better. They've been taught for years that littering is wrong, put litter in its place, but we still continue to battle that fight. So we are hiring 2 additional employees. We're going to provide them with a truck and a specialized trailer that will allow them to hit the high spots, the areas that have high litter areas and also our high tourist areas. So we're going to try to get some people out there, boots on the ground, to clean up the trash that people leave behind. I wish that they wouldn't. We'll be looking at ways to put more trash cans in public areas and just a general overall attack on the litter problem. So we're excited about the money that the council's providing us. The litter critter coming back is a wonderful addition, and we thank the mayor and council for the additional funds.
Great, thank you, David. David, let me just comment that the litter critter, just to make sure people know, it is citywide. So each month we're in a different part of the city, and we reintroduced the program about 2 months ago, beginning on the island. We had a litter critter collection day there, and then more recently, Bluff had its own litter critter. So this next one that you identified is going to be up in the Cal Allen area, but we'll be coming back in the Midtown, in the west side and the south side. So it's 12 months of the year. Each month we're in a different geographic location. So a real popular program, but it is citywide. I just want to point that out.
Yes, sir. October 2nd, we're going to be at West Oso High School for the central part of town. And then on the 6th of November, we'll be at Veterans High School. And we'll finish out the year on the 4th of December at Ray High School.
Right. Okay, Deanna, we'll go back to you.
Yes, sir. Swatner Park on Ocean Drive is a large city park with a beautiful view. Are there any plans to develop this area like Cole Park?
So, and Neiman will help me with this. I think there's about 8 parks along the bayfront that the city did a great job years ago purchasing, and that could have been developed, right? It could have been private or even commercial. Houses on there.
The city had the foresight to buy that rather than having Ocean Drive just strung with houses.
Exactly.
To keep the bayfront close to the people.
Exactly. And so what we've heard over time, at least in my 2.5 years, is can we develop those? Can we put more shade structures, more trees, barbecue pits? Some of them are big enough to even have maybe a small playground for children. So we are working on that. We're going to the, it's called Type B Corporation. It's a sales tax program that the city has. 1/8 cent of our sales tax goes there. It's our money, it's city money, but it's overseen by a board that the city council approves. So we have a program that we've taken to them that has a request to invest some of those sales tax dollars into these parks specifically. We see them as ecotourism. We know that a lot of us travel Ocean Drive. It's such a beautiful view and drive, but so do a lot of tourists. And so we want to develop Swatner Park. We know it's significant. This is one way using those sales tax dollars that we think we can do it. And so next week, Neiman, one of my assistant city managers, and myself will be making that request to that Type B board. And that's one of the signature projects in there is to invest in Swatner, as well as the other chain of parks that exist along Ocean Drive. Neiman, I don't know if there's anything else we need to add to that.
Yes, that's correct, sir. I think you're spot on. The bottom line is we see these parks along Ocean Drive as an extension in the investment that the city has already made in our downtown area, our marine area, and our Shoreline Drive project. So we are going to request that the Type A partner with us in this future investment, which is the Ocean Drive Parks. It's a $580,000 funding request that we're asking to furnish those parks to include Swatner. And we're looking forward to having a successful conversation with the Type B board next week.
Great, thank you.
All right, here's another question. The homeless problem in Flower Bluff is getting worse. What is the police department doing about the homeless camps that keep springing up?
Yeah, so so I'm gonna have, we'll introduce the community. I think we all know him real well, Chief Markle. We also have Neiman, our Assistant City Manager, that helps to oversee our homelessness division. So 2 years ago, we reprogrammed 3 staff members in the city organization to focus on homelessness and affordable housing, workforce housing. And they do have a business plan that the homeless group's working on. They have been to Flower Bluff many times and have worked with some of the providers there, worked with some of the community leaders there. I personally have received some messages to help to break up some of the encampments, and we've done that. I know the chief just talked to me over the weekend about kind of a squatting situation that's taken place in a home, and we're aware of that as well. So we have a lot of individuals engaged in the scenario. It's not just Flower Bluff, it's citywide. Certainly there's areas that have a greater concentration of it, but it's something that we're addressing through the entire city. We have over 30, upwards sometimes, depending on how you count them, of about 50 homeless providers in our community. And one of our biggest goals is collectively working with them, making sure our resources are aligned appropriately, that we're not overlapping or duplicating service. It's a tough one to address, and it takes millions. Some cities in our state are spending a lot every year. We're continuing to invest amounts as well. Neiman, I don't know if you want to address anything specifically. Councilman Smith first, and then we'll go to Neiman, and then the police chief.
Well, tomorrow we're going to have our second reading of an ordinance that will prohibit sleeping and other activities in the public right-of-way. And this ordinance will cover downtown, North Beach, and Flower Bluff. So a lot of the problems we've had in the shopping centers, sitting there along SPID, that some of those activities, if we pass the ordinance tomorrow, and the first reading, it was 9-0. And Flower Bluff is one of the 3 areas in town that the ordinance pertains to.
That's a good point, Councilman. Thank you. It's a big quality of life ordinance that the city council will consider for the second and final time tomorrow. Neiman, anything else on Flower Bluff that you'd like to address with our homelessness plan?
Yes, sir, and I agree, sir. I don't think that the homeless issue is one that you could police yourself out of, and the city realizes that. So what we're trying to do is leverage our partnerships with the nonprofit community throughout the city to help address the homelessness issue. Specifically in Flower Bluff, this year's community annual action plan was approved to provide $200,000 to Rising Tide, which is a Flower Bluff local nonprofit that helps to address and assist homeless individuals in the Flower Bluff area. In addition to that investment, we're looking at increasing our affordable housing inventory for the city of Corpus Christi. With affordable housing, there's more opportunities to get people off the street and into shelter. And we're looking at addressing that with our infill housing policy and investments with multi-family complexes that are looking to come to Corpus Christi and to build affordable housing throughout the city. So the city is, specifically neighborhood services, is working very hard to leverage those nonprofit relationships and to continue to pursue private investment into the city to help, address the homeless issue throughout Corpus Christi.
Yeah, that's great. And just to clarify a little bit or add to it, the $200,000 for the Rising Tide, that's using federal dollars. And that budget would go into effect October 1 as well. City Council already approved it, right? Yeah, it's already been approved. So that allocation's approved, and it's using federal entitlement monies we get annually, but that'll help that nonprofit. And then let's just hear from Chief Markle. I know our community loves our police chief, and he's here tonight. Chief, why don't you just add a little bit about what you all do?
Appreciate that, Peter. Some great comments from everybody. Your police department are partners in this effort. Again, Neiman said it, and I've said it a million times, you can't police your way out of social issues. But we can enforce laws when they need to be enforced. We certainly work with our community out there, NGOs and other governmental agencies, and whatever we can do to help on every dimension, be it property owners and criminal trespass, or we get trespass authority, or if it's working with Rising Tides or whoever for reunification, if we can make that happen. we want to work it in every dimension we can to try to relieve the issue. I'm a long time, many decade resident of Flower Bluff. I certainly feel the pain of the question asker, the citizen who's asking this question, but it does, this issue is throughout the city. It's a complex issue, one that will not be solved overnight, as we know. But certainly, as you can tell here from just this conversation, a whole lot of folks, both working within the city and in the community, have rolled up their sleeves to try to find ways to work through these issues. We want a good quality of life. We don't want to be heartless towards our homeless. We understand they have issues. For instance, we have a mental health crisis unit within the police department. We work with MHID. We try to provide or find resources rather than just arrest over and over again. Try to find family members to reach out and help. So we're always looking for ways to relieve, the stresses of homeless and private property issues and those things that all come together, to create some tension. But we want to do it in a manner that works well throughout the community, not just with, any single group. So it's a complex issue, and you heard some great answers in this group right here. We're going to continue with that.
All right. Does the proposed budget include additional funding to cut grass more often in Flower Bluff and city maintained areas due to stormwater drainage issues?
So the question has two service areas in the city. Our stormwater program that Richard Martinez oversees has more dollars to address we call it the right of way, but it's those grassy areas near our roadways, not to be confused with the Texas highway system like SBID, but we have numerous roads that are city controlled that have grassy areas next to them. And part of that stormwater program is to address those and get them mowed or treated more often, especially ones that are not supposed to have anything growing on them, but weeds come through some of the pavers. So in both cases, in our parks budget for the past two budgets, we have increased funding for mowing substantially, mowing and maintenance. And so that same level funding is in our budget, and that will progress this next fiscal year. The focus for the new budget in parks has been amenities, adding amenities to our park system. We're doing some significant things in our big regional parks to include adding dog parks, adding splash pads, adding pavilions and covers and shade. We have over 200,000 to plant more trees across our city for shade, on top of putting in shade structures and barbecue pits and benches. And taking care of some of our maintenance, like our irrigation systems, and lighting, and restroom facilities, and other things that we have in our great park system. Neiman, is there anything else we should add to that, or Dante?
No, sir. I believe you're spot on, sir. We concur.
Councilman, you can.
Richard on the mowing.
Yeah, Richard, do you want to talk a little bit about our mowing and some of the techniques that we're using to address that?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. So over the last 2 years, we've increased our mowing cycles in our drainage channels from 8 times a year to 12 times a year. And this year I wanted to highlight one in our proposed budget that's moving forward for the council to review is another maintenance crew. And so this heavy maintenance crew in stormwater will help restore our drainage channels. So a lot of our drainage channels have a lot of high weeds, trees, and everything growing in the center, and causes some issues with vector control. And so for us to be able to go back in and maintain them properly and be able to put them back in this original design so they can be mowed all the way down into the flow line, into the fence line, will definitely decrease those issues in our drainage channels. So again, yes, there is additional funding in our budget this year for additional mowing and maintenance in our channels, and it started last year with council approving additional mowing cycles, sir.
Yeah, Richard, thanks for pointing that out. That's a good indicator of why we need to improve our stormwater program. And so today for the entire city, we have one crew to maintain all of our ditches that help to convey stormwater, whether they're a bar ditch or a
Channel.
or channel, an unimproved channel, so there's no concrete per se. So one crew for the entire city, which is not enough. Our city is very diverse in its geography, plus we're very flat, and so we rely a lot on those ditches, bar ditches, and channels. And so this budget recommends another crew, and I believe, Richard, we're actually going to recommend one more in the next year budget, the 2023, just to try to keep up. So as you can imagine, one crew to clean all the ditches, we're not really getting to them all based on that. So that's some of the service improvements that we want to recommend that we are recommending as we better define that stormwater program and set a true fee structure for it, one where you can account for the cost of services in the actual rate structure, which we can't do today. Okay, Deanna, we'll turn it back over to you.
Yes, sir. With the fire department beginning to provide in-home vaccinations, are we understaffed at the fire stations?
No, the answer is no, and I believe Chief Roach is on with us, and so I'll have him help explain how he's using his resources, in some cases on an overtime basis, to make sure we're never understaffed at our fire stations. That's something that's one of our basic business models. But Chief, why don't you explain it a little bit more and also provide us that number if somebody does want to receive that free service of having you all go directly to their home and vaccinate them or their family members.
We appreciate that, Peter, and thank you very much. I can say that so far we're off to a great success. Today we were out vaccinating people in home. That number is 826 City. And what we do is we take that list every day and then we try to get as many vaccines distributed. And speaking about the staffing level of the fire department, the actuality is for the first time in over a decade, the fire department is adequately staffed. We have all the positions filled that we had requested from the city. I want to thank the mayor and city council and you, Peter, for all of that work. Basically, the model that we've been using is we've been using overtime, which is compensable through federal and state grants that we are taking part in with regards to COVID response. And so basically what we do is we have firefighters coming in, they're paramedics working overtime. They'll go out in teams and go out and distribute vaccine. It was a model that we had with the SOS program that was successful, and we're going to follow the very same model to do the in-house vaccinations.
Chief, that's great. Thank you. And then just to repeat again, in case somebody didn't catch it, 826 City is the number to call to get registered for free in-home vaccination. And what that means is a trained emergency medical technician that works for the city, for the fire department, that works for Chief Rocha, will go to your house or your place of business and vaccinate you or your family members so long as you're 12 years of age or older. It's a great service. Chief, as he mentioned, has been pretty busy. The call list is good. We're happy. We want to thank Mayor Guajardo for brainstorming this idea. It was her idea. It backs up or follows on her other idea, which is vaccinating seniors. Yeah, Save Our Seniors, that actually became a state model. Governor Abbott was down here acknowledging that success and deployed troops, National Guard across the state using that same model. And so we know that the big mega vaccine drives are probably a thing of the past. Those were good for our community when we first started vaccinating, but it's really the customized, individualized methods that seem to be working best. So Chief, we're glad that you're helping us out in that area. And I did want to also point out that the chief is right with the city council's leadership and funding levels. This will be the first time in over a decade that the fire department has every uniform position filled. That wasn't the case for the past 10 years. There were huge gaps in the fill rate, which results in firefighter EMTs working more and getting tired quicker, but it also was more costly to the community because we had to fill those positions with an overtime rate, which is more costly. So, Chief, thank you for holding the biggest academy class in the city's history, 50 cadets a year ago, or the last cadet class about a year and a half ago. And with their graduation, we'll be at 100% staffing levels. And so that's a great accomplishment. I want to thank the mayor and the council. Okay, Deanna, we'll turn it back over to you.
Yes, sir. Will the proposed budget include improvements for our wastewater treatment plants?
Yes, it sure does. And Mike Murphy, our new executive who's helping to run the water and wastewater programs, will help explain it. But we have probably the most significant investment, I would say, in our wastewater treatment plants than the city has maybe ever had. All six, we have 6 wastewater treatment plants, have substantial investments of upwards of $10 to $30 million, depending on the plant. I believe it's over 110, maybe 114 million just in the next year budget that'll be put into the wastewater treatment plants to rehab, rejuvenate, and bring back to top-notch running levels. Murphy, is that number right? And just the 100 and something million, and then just elaborate on that if you can.
Well, Peter, the 111 is our total capital project budget for the upcoming year for wastewater.
Yeah.
So our treatment plants are going to get 34.8 million of that. And all 6 of our wastewater treatment plants that we have strategically located around the city are going to get upgraded this upcoming budget year. So it's a substantial investment into our wastewater system.
Okay, great. And then just explain then so the difference between the 35 and the over 100 million goes into our lines underground.
Yeah, so it goes for line replacement, line rehab. It also goes for our towards several of our 103 lift stations that we have located throughout the city also. We've got a major project on the books this year and for the next 5 years in our 5-year plan on upgrading our lift stations around the city also.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mike.
All right, this is a question from Facebook. Are there plans in the proposed budget to add crosswalks to have access to parks such as Oleander, Swatner, Palmetto, Ponish, and Ropes? In addition, are there plans to add sidewalks for residents to walk to Swatner, Palmetto, and Ponish parks?
Right, so I'm going to have Richard answer that. Those parks are the ones we talked about earlier, Councilman Smith and I. So we kind of refer to them as the chain of parks along the bayfront or along Ocean Drive. As our community can tell, for the first time in 50 years, we're redoing Ocean Drive, a deep structural mill and overlay from all the way from I-37 to Ennis-Jocelyn. So that entire stretch, which I believe is over 12 miles at about a $14 million budget, is underway. It's probably more than 50% complete at this point. So Richard will address the concept of crosswalks. I do agree we need them along that Ocean Drive and even in some of the areas downtown. I know there are investments underway in some of the immediate downtown on Shoreline Drive crosswalks. The issue of sidewalks and sidewalk gaps is something that we have funded in this budget, most notably in the form of safe routes to school. But we know that there's other areas like around parks and some of our beautiful destinations that need sidewalks as well. Richard, do you want to add any more to that?
Sure. Thank you, sir. So yes, Ocean Drive is a major project that we have going on right now. And as that's finishing up, what we have, in addition to that, we're evaluating all of the pedestrian ramps for improvements in the next year to 24 months. And we're also evaluating gaps in sidewalks all along Ocean Drive as well. Looking at the plan for parks to improve Oleander, Swatner, Palmetto, Ponish, and Ropes, we want to understand those improvements a little better so we know where the concentration for our citizens are going to be to cross. We're reviewing those areas as part of our Vision Zero plan for additional possible hawks. So these high intensity signals that allow for our our pedestrians to get across the roadways. As you mentioned, we have one that's going to be going in on Shoreline near the Omni to help the crossing in that area. That's going to be going on in this next 12 months. So we always are continuing to evaluate pedestrian improvements. But I will tell you that council this last year and this year have really emphasized Vision Zero. And Vision Zero helps us put these components in for our bicyclists, pedestrians, boaters, those type of activities, and the different types of amenities that need to go in for that. So yes, we're always continuing to look at that. As soon as we get more information on the plans and parks, we'll definitely be looking at improvements along Ocean as well, sir.
Hey, Peter.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I want to correct that number. The 111 million is our water utilities CIP budget for the upcoming year. Our wastewater is 84 million.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 80.1 million for wastewater. Okay, so it's 111 for water, 80 for wastewater.
Okay, very good.
Oh, well, let's see. Richard, I have another question for you. How will the new stormwater fee be calculated?
It's a great question. So today, I just want to talk about what's going on today and then helps us get into the future. So today, everyone pays stormwater based on the amount of water, potable water that's used. Those two don't correlate. Those are difficult to correlate, the amount of water you utilize to the amount of drainage that comes off your property. So I can tell you impervious cover, but I want to put it so everybody understands that. So everything that doesn't percolate into the ground, like for instance, it comes off your roof line, driveways, sidewalks, those type of things, that's called impervious cover. So what happens is we've taken a look at it and we've calculated our residential rates based on the impervious cover in 3 different categories or 3 different tiers. And that's based on the amount of square footage a home and a resident has. And so a tier 1 is less than 3,000 square feet. That is at $4.59. A tier 2 is 3,000 square feet to 4,500 square feet. That's an average home here in Corpus Christi. And that's $6.12. And if you saw the video it showed earlier, it talked about the average water user at 6,000 gallons would have a reduction of $6.12. Well, and the average homes of 3,000 to 4,500 would then have a stormwater fee of $6.12. And so we're looking at trying to balance that. And then there's a tier 3, which is over 4,500 square feet. That would be $10.71, which means that's a large property. Again, today it's calculated based on the amount of water you utilize. And tomorrow what we're looking, and our proposal to council is that we look at it so that the usage of our drainage system, the rates are calculated based on how you utilize and what runoff comes off your property into the drainage system.
And one quick comment on that. We are the only city that charges in our water bill, a major city in the state. And like Richard said, there's no correlation between the amount of drainage and your water bill. So to certain people, it's a very unfair charge. It doesn't reflect the cost of service. And I think it's important that this issue has been brought up in the past, but this council, we're going to make the hard decisions anytime you change something like this, that we have a lot of objections. But the fact that a substantial portion of people's water bill is actually a stormwater fee, it is not fair to our residential customers that are truly carrying the weight right now under our current billing for the stormwater system, even though they're not the cause of the expense. The cause is the impermeable surfaces that cause the runoff. So we're trying to have an equitable system. in the way we're charging it. And I expect we're going to see a lot of people saying, well, this isn't right. But our goal as council is we want to be fair and equitable to our ratepayers.
Right, and also, Councilman, as Richard showed the council in your workshop last week, we are the last major Texas city to do the right way of issuing the fee, having that separate stormwater fee, not having the water bill pay for it. So most of our competitor cities are the cities we benchmark ourselves to, those 7 cities above us in population. It's been 3 decades, several 2 decades for most since they have introduced the stormwater fee. So this city council, we're excited to work with them because we think that they see the importance of having a fair and equitable fee structure. But also, and maybe more importantly, it's going to enable us to develop a more robust stormwater program. If we think back just about 6 weeks ago when we had those heavy rains in that first week of July, the whole city was inundated. I don't think any side of town was spared. And as a modern city, we should have been able to handle a rain event as such, but what we had were clogged ditches, inadequate storm systems, not enough clearing of some of our bigger creeks to let the water flow. So a lot of what we're recommending with the fee structure will enable us to develop a more robust program. And we actually outlaid a 5-year program for the city council in this budget and in the work session.
Well, and if I could add that part of this budget includes 3 major projects. One is in the Flower Bluff area, improving the Glen ditch. Houses flood because of issues there. Another is in the second phase of improvement on Williams ditch. Houses flood in that Greenway garden. And the third is another phase 2 on Viola Creek in District 3. Houses flood in District 3. So what's our most important thing is to keep those people when it's raining with the thought that their house is not going to flood.
That's good, Councilman.
All right. Are there any plans to widen Flower Bluff Drive from Glen Oak to Yorktown?
We're going to have Richard answer that one, Deanna.
Sure. So I want to talk a little bit about our infrastructure management plan first. So the city council approved a infrastructure management plan, which is a 5-year rolling forecast and plan to build and maintain streets within our city. They passed that last year. And so you can go online, everyone can go online to just type in infrastructure management plan, Corpus Christi, and it'll take you right to the page. Again, that's infrastructure management plan, Corpus Christi. Take you right to the page, and it's an interactive map to see all the streets that are planned for the next 5 years. With that said, we just finished a section from Don Patricio to Yorktown. That was maintenance. I want to make sure that we make sure that we explain maintenance versus construction and recapitalization. So we had to maintain that roadway because it was in bad shape. We want it to last to a point that we can now then put it on a plan for total reconstruction and widening. So just recently, the Flower Bluff, so there was a Flower Bluff plan that was put out, and that plan actually is called the Flower Bluff Area Development Plan. And that plan indicates the long range, short range, and long range plans for any area. So for Flower Bluff Drive is identified, and it's identified in the 6 to 10 year plan. So what that does is puts an identification for us to start looking at for bond programs or other funding programs that have to do with the MPO, state funding, those type of things that will help us identify that, move that forward. The important part is having it on a development plan, and it was approved by council. Council has reviewed the plan, citizens reviewed the plan. We know about it, so now we've got our marching orders to make sure that we can start looking for that funding and design costs to be able to improve Flower Bluff in the next 6 to 10 years.
All right, I have another question for
The city wishes you could see the utility lines our specialists see, but you can't. That's why it is important to call 811 2 days before you dig. Just provide the location of your project and what is being done. Then a specialist will go to the location.
Four new shade structures with 4 picnic tables and 2 replacement water fountains. While I can't say that we're going to move forward with pickleball courts at Parker Park, we are having discussions and planning for addressing the surface of those tennis courts in Parker Park. Now, we need to have stakeholder input to determine if they're going to remain traditional tennis courts or if they'll move forward into more modernized pickleball courts. But I think the good news story is the fact that the park is on our radar and we're looking at addressing surface issues in the facility. Regarding splash pads, we currently don't have money programmed for a splash pad at that park, but we will be taking that into consideration, especially going into future budget cycles.
So Neiman, are we doing something on Village Park and on the island? What was the island park? Because the Parker Park's on the Bluff.
Yes, sir. We do have plans as well for Village Park. That's going to be part of the $1.5 million for our regional parks. To go into furnishing and more amenities. And I think that I forgot to answer the question regarding what's going on at Dowden Park currently. Currently aware that the playground equipment is currently fenced off with construction fencing now. That's because we're planning to have that playground equipment removed in the next 2 weeks. That's because we have monies programmed in January 2022 to go ahead and have that playground replaced. So we're doing the removal prep work, and we're going to put a more modernized playground equipment into the
Okay, so 2 weeks, Neiman, we're going to get that. We're going to begin to address that.
That's correct, sir.
Okay, great. Let me just add that it's not in City Council District 4, but it's close. We're recommending in the budget Cole Park for there to be a splash pad. So Cole Park's one of our larger regional parks. We know that people from across the city go there. We're excited about the new pier that will be opening up later this end of the summer, early fall. And then we believe a splash pad is going to be a great amenity. Families can go there, enjoy the pier, get some water cooling with the splash pad, just enjoy the grounds and the beautiful bay. So we're excited about that for the community. Deanna, did we have, I know it's getting close to our time of, we told the community we would end by, which is around this time, 7 o'clock. We want to be mindful of everybody's schedule. We know that people have families and you may have homework or cooking or what have you, but is there any other final questions, Deanna, that you wanted to pose to us at this time?
Well, we had a lot of questions about repair work in Flower Bluff. So I'll end on this one. Are there plans to repair Mediterranean Drive in Flower Bluff?
So, Deanna, thank you for the question. So there are a lot of roadways in the Bluff and on the island and in District 4. There are exactly 143 projects in our IMP in District 4, with 25 of them are residential street reconstruction projects. 40 of them are on the island. Another 35 of them are in Flower Bluff. So there's a lot of roadways that are planned to be maintained in and around District 4, and Mediterranean is one of them. Mediterranean is planned for 2024, and I know that seems like a long ways off. We're already in 2022, so this roadway, we're going to be looking at doing our utilities and repairs, so we have a couple of years for that to take place, and plans and designs. But the positive thing is it's on our infrastructure management plan. In the meantime, our crews are going to see how we can make some interim repairs and hold these roads until we can get them rehabilitated and reconstructed. So yes, the answer is yes. Mediterranean is on our infrastructure management plan for 2024.
And again, Richard, the city council approved, and this is the first time the city's ever had a 5-year plan that is in place and can only be changed by council action. Anybody wants to review what streets are in that 5-year plan, you go to Infrastructure Management Plan, Corpus Christi, in the URL, right? And it'll take you directly to the plan. So that plan's updated every year. As we do the first year, we move everything forward and we add a new 5th year. And so that new 5th year is proposed for this budget as Richard and his team gets the current year one done. Great. Well, I think we had a terrific night, Deanna. We really enjoyed City Council District 4. I know when we're in there in person, your community councilman is really engaged and loves to come out and talk about the success of the city and make sure we know how we can better serve that community and improve quality of life. So we're glad to be with you tonight virtually. And I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Smith for our closing words. Before I do that, though, just a reminder that we have our final and 5th community meeting will be this Wednesday at 6 o'clock on a similar format here using WebEx or YouTube or watching it on our government access channel. That'll be at 6 o'clock this Wednesday, and the focus is City Council District 5. So with that, Councilman, let me turn it over to you, and thank you for being our host this evening.
Well, thank you, Peter. I particularly want to thank everybody for joining in and your comments. Even if they weren't read tonight, they are going to be read and tabulated on there. To Councilman Pusley, Councilman Barrera, Councilman Molina, Mayor Guajardo on there, thank you very much for listening to District 4. Council is a team, and it's not one of us, it's 9 of us on there. So I can't thank you all enough for spending the time to hear what District 4 has to say, being part of our council team on there. And then the last thing, in District 4, we've got you're seeing we're spending a lot of money and doing great things. We're not, the tax rate does not change on there. The city is they're doing a lot of efficiencies, refinancing, contractual changes, bringing stuff in-house. We are stretching the dollars. We're getting more bang for the buck due to our leadership on this team, so we can have a budget like this that puts more dollars, more help out into our city without increasing the revenue. Our finances are in great shape. We're doing this with great reserves on there. Like I said, no tax rate increase is involved in this. And our credit ratings continue to be stable or going up. So I want to thank staff for changing our city culture to be more efficient, bring more dollars out there to our people and less wasted in New York or wherever else that we've been spending the money in the past. And again, thank you everybody so very much for joining us tonight, and look forward to seeing some of you Wednesday.
All right. Good night, everybody. Stay safe out there.